Alright everyone, welcome back. Hope you all had a great weekend. Nearly 2 weeks ago, I believe it was about 12 days ago, as of the recording of this video, I made a video titled The Division 2 Great News, New Content Testing Starts Tomorrow for 2 weeks. Now this was following a video released by Rogue Gold hours earlier, with evidence he had received from a source showing invites for testing, playtesting for The Division 2 over a 2-week period. Now, like Rogue Gold, I too was very happy to see there was some significant testing taking place for the new content, and it only gets better with what I've recently received and been told and given evidence to support. So let's get into this. Drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos. Let's begin. If you haven't watched the video I referred to in the introduction there about the testing that took place for the Division 2, I believe it's ended now. I think it ended on February 11th or February 10th. I'd highly recommend you go and watch that one, especially if you have concerns that Massive will be pushing this content out the door unfinished. I know this is something many people felt about Warlords of New York. I'm probably included in that due to its buggy launch, but I really don't think that's the case whatsoever for this new content, even now more than ever with what I've received this weekend. Now in that video, I basically reinforced what Rogue Gold said, where he provided evidence showing at least 2 weeks worth of testing was fast approaching with on-site and remote tested. I myself, prior to Rogue Gold's video, had received confirmation of what Rogue Gold talked about. What was even more impressive and reassuring was in order to participate on at least 2 days, you would need to be available from 8 AM to 5 PM for those 2 days. So this wasn't some kind of 1 hour session, just the one-off situation, and that was all the testing that was being done, as was the case for the testing back in November of last year. And as I've said in loads of videos prior to this point, that was probably one of the reasons why the feedback that they got from that testing in November is probably the reason why it got delayed actually. Now this was substantial. The testing that's just happened, I think it was about 2 weeks, well, it wasn't that long ago now, but it was over that 2 week period. And it really reflects Massive's intention to get the most amount of feedback as possible in order to deliver the best content possible with the resources available to them. And it's important I emphasize that point because, of course, I don't think they've got as much resources as Ubisoft could give them. So yeah, bear that in mind. It's why I think as I said before, the November testing was the main reason why the content got delayed. And thankfully, from what I know, it did get delayed. But I think that this testing that's coming up is it's incredible. So you probably noticed there that I said this testing coming up. Well, this weekend I received some evidence which shows that Massive have got more testing coming up soon. And it's going to be on a lot longer than I ever would have thought, to be honest. New invites have been sent out with another 2 phases of testing. The first phase will start on either February 17th or 18th, and the second phase will be on the 24th of February. These are labelled as 2 to 3 hour testing sessions held remotely, with the second playtest requiring the completion of a 1 hour task beforehand on a day beforehand. I think it was between 24 hours to 3 days prior to the 24th of February. So this alone shows that testing for the Division 2 is still very much alive at this moment in time, which is again, that's reassuring that they're still doing testing for the content at this stage. On top of this, at the bottom of the invite, it confirms that more playtests will be coming up in the future. Now, I don't know if this is just an automatic paragraph added to all playtest invites or specific to these playtests taking place, but it's certainly worth noting. Now, what I found the most interesting about these invites is, and I think this really cements the idea that Massive are serious about making this content the best it can be, is the invites sent out for these new playtests say at the top of them, remote playtest week 7 and 8. Now that means the first week of testing started in the first week of January. Where before we were thinking, 2 weeks of testing was a lot and it showed the desire to get the content out in a good state. This shows a real desire from Massive to give us the best product at launch. That's 8 weeks worth of testing, and there might be more than that. Let's not forget, all this testing comes before we even have the PTS, where the main bugs and glitches will be found, because you're going to have way more players actually getting involved, and so you are going to likely come across bugs and glitches that you wouldn't have found out in the initial testing, if there are any, of course. I don't know about you, but it feels like Ubisoft have given Massive the autonomy to really do as they please with this update in terms of when it will release anyway. And this is something I don't think they've been given before based on the Warlords experience that some of you guys had. I think a fair majority of people had in terms of bugs and glitches and all that sort of stuff. And likewise with updates that have been released for the Division 2 as well. With Yannick at the helm, I'm really encouraged by this news. I'm not getting my expectations up, just in case. But the more I hear about this level of testing and player feedback, the more I'm confident this new content will be good for PvE players anyway. Before I move on, and just a little bit of, definitely off script here, I was just thinking about this after I just finished that paragraph there, and I just want to say this: I am choosing to look at the testing and the amount of testing in a positive light. Some of you, due to the experiences of the game, and I completely understand, may choose to look at this in a negative way. It may choose to look at the fact that there's so much testing because there's so much wrong, and I can understand that point of view for sure. But I'm choosing to look at this in a positive way. I'm choosing to look at this as, Massive are trying to get as much feedback as possible from all of the playtesters so that the content is in the best shape possible. But I completely understand, guys, if you want to look at it in the opposite way. And if you are looking at it in the opposite way, or you're looking at it the same way as me, let me know in the comments down below how you guys feel about this amount of testing. Moving on, and I was recently searching for anything that I might be able to find worth covering in a video when I came across an image. Here you go. This was taken from a Ubisoft statement, and as you can see, it clearly shows the Division 2 on the whiteboard, especially when you consider what it says. But I can't for the life of me remember if this is included in the live game or not, and I don't think it is. As you can see, it's labelled Fiery Factory, which I'm not sure is... I'm sure that's not in the live game. And the description says, some outcasts have been spotted near a dedicated factory of flammable materials, in and out. See if something is cooking there, agent. So that's the description. Under the gameplay focus, it says cover shoot, prioritize target, and traversal reposition. Now, this is likely a new mission, or perhaps a raid, or some part of a raid, or it may even be something to do with the new game mode coming to Division 2. But I don't think this is for the version of the Division 2 that we are playing. I think this is for the Chinese version of the game. Now, if you didn't see the previous video of mine talking about jobs that have come up for the Chinese version of the Division 2, basically Ubisoft Shanghai will be developing new content for the Division 2, but this is going to be on their national server. This is a kind of a standalone version of the Division 2 for the Chinese audience, and I suspect this is to do with that, especially as this image was taken from a post that came from Ubisoft Shanghai. I wanted to talk about that in this video because no doubt maybe other content creators might pick this up, and we can all speculate about this stuff being part of maybe the what we experienced in the Division 2, but I'm almost guarantee you guys this is something to do with the Division 2 on the Chinese server, and I don't know what it's about, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring that into existence. I appreciate this is quite literally bottom of the barrel stuff here in terms of what I could talk about, but hey, what you're going to do when there is still so much silence around the new content. I am trying to get as much information as I can from sources that I know, or from just direct from Ubisoft about the new content, but it's still very quiet, and as I said before, I think it still is going to be quiet until probably end of March would be my guess. At least we got some news from Tom Henderson Friday about the Division Heartland. He talked about the new free-to-play Escape from Tarkov style game from Red Storm. I did cover it in a video on Friday, so I highly recommend you go check that out. And he basically confirmed everything that we already knew, but Tom Henderson is an industry insider. He's obviously got a lot more reliable sources, and when he says something talks about something, you should probably pay attention. I don't think we're that far away from both the Division 2 new content and Heartland being released. When I say it will be coming soon, I still think it's probably going to be in the next kind of 3 months. But that's it for today's video, guys. It feels good to make a positive video for this game, although, as I said previously, you could spin this into a negative, but I'm choosing not to. I do hope that the reason for all of this testing is because Massive want to make sure the new content is out in the best way possible, and it's not because there are so many problems that it requires a lot of testing. I don't think it is that. I can't be sure, but from what I've heard, I don't think it is that. Thanks very much for sticking around till the end of this one, guys. Really do appreciate it. And until the next one, Epic out.